Uh, Good morning and welcome everyone to the second technical session of the day. With us today, Mr. Sarvagya Pandey. He is a technical architect and development manager at VT Netsfeld. And today he will going to share his knowledge on how to rescue Magento projects. So let's welcome Mr. Sarvagya Pandey and let me hand over to Mr. Sarvagya. Yes, Sarvagya, now you can continue.
Okay, thank you, Chirag. Thank you for the introduction and welcome everyone for my topic Rescue Magento project. And first of all, before starting this, I would like to say thanks to Mr. Vijay Gulani and Brent Peterson and the whole Magento Commerce team for organizing this amazing event. So let's start. Okay, so first of all, I would like to give my introduction. I am Sarvagya Pandey. I am a certified expert, business practitioner, and developer. I am working with VT Netsfeld as a development manager, and there's something which I want to share. A quote which I really believe into. It is by Kent Beck. It is make it work, make it right, and make it fast. So my this presentation would have some clue of this quote in every slide. Okay. So here are the contents of the presentation. So it is a kind of flow which we will follow. First of all, we will look into the problem, that what is the problem, why we want to rescue Magento project. And then we will look into the project versus code base so that we all can be on the same page. And third thing is the characteristics. We will look into the characteristics of the projects which are not in good state. And then we will look into the evaluation part where we can see how we can evaluate it. And last but not the least would be the actions which we can take to improve the project. Okay, so what is the problem? As it is a very common say that with great power comes the great responsibility. So it is same with Magento. Magento is a highly customizable, very flexible e-commerce platform, and it is very scalable. But if those customizations are not implemented correctly, then what happened? The project goes into a very bad state, and it becomes very difficult to maintain those projects. And I have seen in my experience that when the projects are moved from organization to organization and also from teams to different teams, somehow, sometimes the quality of project suffers a lot. Also, some like these projects are sometimes also called legacy projects, although the definition of legacy is not very clear and everybody have their own definition of legacy. So I'm not sure that we should call it legacy, but yes, we can call it legacy. And I will share my experience of handling such projects. Okay, so just to be on the same page, what is the project and what is code base? So we should always see project as a bigger entity than a code base. And as a developer, we are tend to see a code base. We focus a lot on the code base, but we don't see the whole picture, the bigger picture, which is the project. So this code base is a part of project, and we have a lot of other aspects in it. For example, build tools, documents, external dependencies, infrastructure, project management system, all these things come together and make it a project. So we cannot leave any of the thing when we're talking about a project. Okay, so moving to the next thing, which is characteristics. So what are the characteristics? How we can identify that one project is in a bad state. So there are some common traits of all these type of projects. It is poor in performance, not following compliances, security issues, old code base, too many badly written third-party extensions. I'm not against extensions, it's just that badly written extensions. Magento code standards not being followed in the customizations, lack of documentation, and also sometimes no documentation, which is scary. No testability, code is not properly maintained on Git. So these are the characters which are very common in the projects. Okay, so before working on those projects, let's imagine a scenario where you have just joined an organization, or in your current organization, you got one project, and now this project is in a bad state, and you have identified that okay, this project is in a bad state, and you have seen that these characteristics which we've seen earlier. these characteristics are present in that project. Now what you can do, it is important to evaluate the project, to generate some numbers, to generate some kind of report which you can show to your organization or maybe to the client, to get them on board and see that, okay, that this project is not just about development, a new feature or a customization. This project is much more than that. And to make it very good for the future, to make it scalable or maintainable, we have to do a lot of things. So we have to generate some report, we have to generate some numbers. So here in the evaluation part, we will look into those things. So we'll start with page speed performance. So for page speed performance, we can go to the tools. I have listed 4 tools, but there are some other tools as well, like GT Metrics, Page Speed, Pingdom, Web Page Test. You can use Lighthouse. What these tools will give you, they will give you a kind of performance matrix. You can see the web vitals, you can see what is the load time and other parameters, which you can see, okay, that the score was 70. Now the score, we have to improve this score. So these numbers are very important when you talk about page speed performance. Moving to the next thing, which is very important, compliances. Whenever you receive any project, it's very important to make an audit of the compliances, because compliances are something the merchant is legally liable for. So I have mentioned some compliances. One is PCI and other is data protection compliances. PCI is related to payment. If any e-commerce web shop is processing the payment through cards, it comes under this compliance. And what happens is, if we go into the detail, it is more about if the payment is processed through the merchant server or not. If it is getting processed through the merchant server, then it has to get this compliances. So there are two types in PCI. One is DSS, PCI DSS, and other one is PA DSS. PCI DSS is related to the organization, and PA is related to the application. The other type of compliances is data protection, how the organization is handling the customer data. So there's GDPR, which is a general data protection regulation. It is EU-wide regulation that controls how companies and other organizations handle personal data. With CCPA is the California Consumer Privacy Act. So these laws has to be followed, and these compliances have to be audited. Okay, moving to the next thing is old Magento code base. So now we are moving towards, now we have seen the compliance, now we are moving towards the application. So in the application, we have many aspects. So we will start with the Magento code base. We have to see that this Magento code base is old or new. If it is very old version, then there is some problem. Then you have to make sure that the latest version has to be on your update list, has to be on your to-do list. It should be on the top of your to-do list, actually. Also, it is very less likely, but there are chances that some code changes could have been done directly into code. And as we all know that we are using Composer, that then those changes can be removed. But you have to check it. Next thing is third-party extensions. I have seen in my experience that sometimes we get the project which have a lot of extensions, multiple extensions installed on the project, regardless of their feature. And these extensions creates a lot of problem, because then they start conflicting with each other, and they affect the performance also. So when we have this opportunity to evaluate a project, make a list of all these projects, all these extensions, list down the extensions, their version, their compatibility with the Magento latest version, and check if these modules are actually being used or not, because sometimes there are extensions in the project which are not actually being used. Check the code quality of extensions also, and make a list of these things, because then in the future, when you will have to calculate how much effort is required, you can always go into and look this report and see, okay, these things have to be done.
Can you please speak little loud? Sorry to disturb in between.
Okay, sure. So, okay, next thing is customizations. All the projects have some customizations, and some projects have a lot of customizations in them. So these customizations are mostly business logics, which are related to project. And during the evaluation part, we also need to check how these customizations are done. What we can do, because the customizations can take a lot of time if we go to check this or analyze these things. So what we can do, we can lean on the IDE and do the static analysis of code, which will take a very less time and also give us a kind of report, a number that customizations are not done correctly. So you can check for the coding standards like these tab spaces, naming conventions, position of braces, cyclomatic complexity, n-path complexity, unused code, duplicate code, number of parameters, raw SQL queries, queries inside loop, unnecessary collection loading. All these things can be checked very easily. And I suggest that use IDE tools to identify these problems. It will be easy for everyone. Okay, next thing is security checklist. So in e-commerce project, it is very important to do a security audit before starting a project. So there are a few items which are very quick to do. We can look into this. So it is use HTTPS, change admin URL, use latest Magento version, use two-factor authorization, use CAPTCHA, restrict admin access to specific IP addresses, prevent MySQL injection, and disable some dangerous functions like exec, pass through, shell exec, system, proc open. So there's a list of these, and you can find out these find out this list if you research on that. These functions should not be allowed on the server. Update your file permissions, get extensions from trusted vendor and upgrade them. Avoid extensions with encrypted code. Now let's start the work. Now first we have done our evaluation. Now you have the number. Now you have everything. Now you can go to the organization or you can talk to the merchant and take a go ahead, and then you can work on improving this project. So let's start the work on improving the project. So first of all, set up a dev environment, and I advise to set up a dev environment using Docker. The reason behind it is that there are two issues which we face mostly when we use local machines. That is that first thing is that there's a disparity between different dev environments. So one developer has something else, second developer has something else. When we are using multiple services, there is a possibility that one developer is using a different version of a service and another developer is using a different version of service. This thing can be a very problematic, because what happens in this case, that if there is a bug at particular version of that service, then you may not find it on a developer machine, and this issue maybe gets revealed on the production. So it is important to have a same kind of setup which you can achieve using Docker. It will reduce the disparity between different machines and different instances. And second scenario is, suppose a new person have joined the project team. Now he has to also set up this development environment. It will take him very less time if we are using Docker, and it will also reduce reduce queries and reduce the, I will say, a total amount of time he required to set up. Then set up your IDE with tools. I have listed few tools, and you can have other tools as well as you like. So first tool is Xdebugger, which we can use to debug our PHP code, and then there is Code Sniffer and Mess Detector. These are very good to do static analysis of the code. And the fourth one is PHP Unit, which can help you to execute your unit test through your IDE. After that, we have Git. So when you start working on the project, it's very important to have a Git process in place. I will suggest using feature branches, PR reviews, and tagging your deployments. So this way, your Git process and your code integration process will become smooth, and it will be easier to maintain. Okay. So next thing is documentation. Documentation is something which I think that very like not everybody likes to do documentation, and especially technical people. They so what happened is that we do not have documentation, but we have to keep one thing in the mind that documentation is not done for us. It is we do it for somebody else for the future. If somebody else join the team, they should not have any confusion. So I have listed down some type of documents which we create. It is system documents, user documents, process documents. So in system documents, we have product requirement document, design and architecture, UX design document, testing document. In user documents, we have front-end user documentation and admin user documentation. In process documentations, we can have plan, estimates, and schedules. Okay. So after that, you have your setup done. You have Git process in place. You have documentation process in place. Now, first thing to look into this project, which is in bad shape, look at the caching. Make sure all caches are enabled. Check if caching is actually working properly or not. Uh, Check for this cacheable equal to false. You may find it somewhere, and it is a bad practice. What it does, it disables caches on the whole page. Use varnish as reverse proxy. So once you have implemented caching properly, you will see a very good change, a very positive change in the project performance. If there is any private section, then do it using private section and hole punching, but make sure caching is working properly. Then look into the theme. Check if any third-party theme is in use and how it is affecting the performance. So here I want to give you an example. So what happens with third-party themes, sometimes, not every third-party theme, but some third-party themes have one problem that they have a lot of things. And project is not using all those things. It's just one or two features of the theme getting used. But this theme has been calling a lot of templates, and in templates there's a lot of business logic. So there is a chance that theme can cause and affect your performance. So make sure that you audit your theme properly. And if possible, if you see that theme has a lot of problems, make consensus first in the team that we can create a custom theme. And if the website already have custom theme, check if templates have business logic or not if you want to refactor it. So this is how you can start your refactoring by looking into the templates. Okay. The next thing is extensions. First of all, as in the evaluation part, we have already listed down all the extensions and their versions and their compatibility. Now, check if some extensions are not in use. If you find any extension which is not in use, remove those extensions, upgrade all the extensions, and also check the code quality of extensions. You can use IDE for that. And there's one thing which I check mostly is if there's some code which is getting called on every page, even if it is
Sarvagya, please little bit loud more because some people can't hear you properly.
okay. Let me try. Okay, so we were at the code being called at every page. So what we need to do, we need to check if there's any code which is getting called on every page, and how we can check that. We can check it by going into the code and looking into the things we can use Blackfire, we can use APM, but we have to see what is this thing which is getting called on every page. I would like to give you one example that there was in one project, there was one slider which is getting used on only one page, home page, but it was getting called on every page. It was affecting performance a lot. So these you can find these type of issues in the project if you look it into more detail. Okay. Next thing is attributes. So there are chances that you may have a lot of attributes. If a project is very old, let's take example of 3-4 years, 5 years. So there is a possibility that this project may have many attributes, and maybe some of the attributes are not in use now. Remove those attributes which are not in use now. Also, change the scope of attributes. If you do not require any attribute at store view level, then you don't need to then this attribute doesn't need to be at the store view level. Make it global. It will reduce a lot of confusion in the future. And same is for the configuration. Check the scope of configuration, and if it is not required to be at the store view level, make it global. Okay, moving to the next thing, which is work on database. So sometimes it is also possible that problem lies in the database. We cannot ignore that part, and how we can handle it. Update the database. Use indexes in large tables because it will improve the performance of your query. And use Elasticsearch for layered navigation, and use logging, MySQL logging, and tools like MySQL Tuner to find MySQL issues and fix them. So there's one tool, MySQL Tuner. You can check it. It helps a lot in tuning the Magento 2 databases. Okay, next is refactor customization. Okay, now you are at the place where you want to work on the business logic and fix the customizations. Okay, so now we need to look into these things, and these things are those things which are actually going to take your time. So before starting your refactoring process, first prepare for it. And how we can prepare it? First, make a team consensus. It should be transparent to the whole team that we want to refactor it. Second thing is talk about the technical depth, because that is how you will get everybody on board. Get approval from the organization.
Sarvagya, we have only last 5 minutes. We will not cover a question answer, but we can go. You can go ahead.
So how we can refactor the customization? Check for the things first. Look at the low hanging points, which are easy to fix, low risk, and look at the pain points of the projects, and make sure you work on those first. You have to choose between refactor and rewrite, and take a very conscious decision on it, depending on the time and other factors involved in the project. Okay, so I would like to share a few ideas about refactoring ideas and points. So separate your task from the refactoring, because sometimes it happens that when we start refactoring into for a very small task, the small task gets delayed a lot. So don't do that. Use your IDE for refactoring. Look for the stale codes. It is a low-hanging fruit. Dead code we have 3 types of stale code: dead code, commented code, and zombie code. And you can look into it, that wherever we have some code which we do not want in the project, you can remove those. And look for the large and complex classes. Check and fix the complexity in view layer. Perform gradual rollouts to reduce the risk, and gather some real data for testing. For this, you can roll out your feature for particular set of customers and not for all the customers. This way you will get to understand more about how this refactoring is helping. Okay, so last but not the least, testing. Testing is a very big topic. It will require another presentation for it, but I will like to mention 3 points. First is chicken neck problem, where while we are doing refactoring, we face this problem because we have to write tests first to refactor. But here, when we are doing refactoring, the test is not testable. So this way we also cannot write tests for it. So start for a small feature, start doing refactoring, and then slowly you can come out of this problem. Look for testing at multiple levels. Like don't just go for unit testing. Look for integration and functional testing as well. Automate your tests using PHP unit, MFTF, and Selenium. And the last thing is automate your build and deployment process. Set up continuous code inspection and code integration. Do not make any process manual. Automate it 100%. This way you will reduce a chance of error, and it will be very helpful. You can check for deploy tools and build servers. There are a lot of these tools. Okay, so next is thank you. So I would like to say thanks to everyone. I hope it.
Yeah, thank you, Sarvagya, for the great session about the Magento Rescue project. Unfortunately, we are not able to take any question answer, but anyone can reach directly to the Sarvagya and he can answer. Okay.
Thank you, Chirag. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.